Have you and your furry best friend ever been bored? We have a cure for that. Get your subscription box with our affiliate link now.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to our new show, Does It Suck? It's a new short form show we're doing where we go back and revisit movies that did not do well and probably weren't well received. And we investigate it a little bit more to see if we like it or if it sucks. So tonight, we are doing AntiTrust. I'm your host, Mick Manhattan. Of course, I'm joined always by my partner in crime, the madman Casey Plott.
Thank you, and good evening or good afternoon, whenever you happen to be watching this. Good morning. We hope you enjoy it. This is our first one, so we're really stoked to get into it. And AntiTrust was an excellent choice for so many reasons, which we will be getting into shortly.
Absolutely. So before we get started, I'm going to read off to you guys what AntiTrust actually means, because when I first saw this movie, I had no idea what it was back in 2001. Antitrust is a group of laws established to regulate business practices in order to ensure that fair competition occurs in an open market economy for the benefit of the consumers.
And one of the people who was a big figurehead behind that was Teddy Roosevelt, who, when he was president, during his presidency, he insisted on putting together the antitrust laws.
You love your Teddy Roosevelt so much.
He's amazing. Well, he broke Carnegie's steel, bro.
I know. You love it. And we talk about it often on other shows. But I did not know that, and that is a very cool fact to know, and I appreciate you telling me, my friend. We are doing the 2001 suspense thriller movie AntiTrust, starring Ryan Phillippe and Tim Robbins. The movie is a fictional story of computer programming genius Milo Hoffman after graduating from Stanford and getting into a competitive world of computer software. In his contemplation of where to begin his career, he is contacted by Gary Winston, played by Tim Robbins, whose character is loosely based on Bill Gates. Winston is the CEO of the company called Nerve, and they are on the brink of completing the global communication system Synapse. They need Hoffman to help meet their launch date. So after much thought and with the full support of his girlfriend Alice, he accepts the job. Tragedy soon strikes, and Milo becomes suspicious of the company he has been wrapped up in. He learns that trusting anyone could be a mistake and that nothing is as it seems. I want to thank Jordan Thornsberg over on IMDb for providing a great synopsis. That's why I went with his.
Yeah, it's a strong one. I really like that. And it's a pretty good rundown.
Yeah, he did a great job really kind of building up the suspense. And we don't want to give too many spoilers in case you guys want to check this out. But we are going to get into the movie a little bit. But I want to talk about the reception of the movie when it originally came out. And as per Wikipedia, AntiTrust received mainly negative reviews and has rotten consensus of 24% on Rotten Tomatoes based on 106 reviews with an average score of 4 out of 10. The summary states, due to its cliched and ludicrous plot devices, this thriller is more predictable than suspenseful. Also, the acting is bad. That's a quote.
Wow.
The film has a score of 31 out of 100 based on 29 reviews on Metacritic. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film a B+ on a scale of A to F. Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times gave the film 2 stars out of 4. Linux.com appreciated the film's open source message, but let the film overall was lackluster, saying AntiTrust is probably worth a $7.50 ticket on the night when you've got nothing else planned. Damn, Linux.
That's brutal. Brutal.
That is a brutal from Linux.
Yeah.
James Keith LaCroix of Detroit Metro Times gave the film 4 stars, impressed that AntiTrust is a thriller that actually thrills. The film won both the Golden Goblet for Best Feature Film and Best Director for Peter Howlett at the 2001 Shanghai International Film Festival.
Wow.
Man, that was pretty brutal. That's
a wild range there. That was a lot. They managed to win an award and also be told off at the same time.
I know. And it's to kind of give everybody a background, this show started based off AntiTrust. And the reason being is I saw this in theaters in 2001. And I remember watching it. I remember nothing about it. And when I did see it in theaters, I had no idea what was going on. I was young, I was stupid, and didn't want to know. So I saw it on TV today, and it was playing on Pluto or Tubi if you guys want to check it out. And I was watching it, and I'm like, this isn't half bad, and I get it now. Like I understand what antitrust is. Being a full adult male now.
Yeah, right.
Well, adult anybody can understand
As
that,
adult as you can be.
I'm just an adult now. But and I turned to Casey and I said, I want to talk about this. I want to see, does this suck? And I made him watch it. I hogtied him and made him watch
He
it.
did, actually. He held me down and full on Clockwork Oranged me. But it was all right because I actually found this. It was pretty interesting. So when I first saw this movie was 2001 when it came out. I had just graduated high school. I was living at my dad's house here in Virginia, and he was famous for his pay-per-view Saturdays, and it happened to be one that we picked, and it was his choice. And I sat down and watched it, and I remember thinking, okay. It was just lukewarm. I was like, it's a thriller. I mean, I get to see Rachel Lee Cook and Claire Filani, who were probably the highlights in this movie. Because Ryan Phillippe wasn't bad, struggles a bit. And I don't want to be too spoilery.
No.
I want people to watch this if they so choose. It's worth a rewatch if you're interested in this kind of movie. I enjoyed it now more because I do understand all of the Linux and the part that they're getting into and the networking they're describing. And they weren't actually too far off on some of it. It was like, okay, cool. Like, I don't know source code, but I know what it looks like. And that looked like, I was like, oh, I recognize this. Okay.
If you play with Linux and we've become pretty well versed and now to kind of maneuver Linux more than program it, but so like, but even maneuvering it, you do have to read it and understand it. And I promise you don't have to do that to watch this movie, no matter what Linux said about it.
Nope.
Because there was one point where Ryan Phillippe's character sits and he talks to Gary, played by Tim Robbins, and he goes, "Oh, this code is amazing," and he's like, "Who did it?" And like Tim Robbins, Gary freaks out on him, like goes nuts. And I'm like, right there, that tells me like something's up. Like,
there were a couple of devices that they used that were absolutely plotting. They absolutely were just ham-fisted, quick mouth feed. I mean, I have to say Howard Franklin's script was not terrible. I didn't dislike it. Peter Howitt did a decent job directing. It was, they did their parts well. I think Tim Robbins was fantastic. I think him playing the megalomaniac was really good.
He did play a great job. And I mean, we all know that he's playing Bill Gates in the movie. Let's be real. Like, even if that is not in any way, shape, or form how Bill Gates has ever been, he's straight up.
I certainly hope not, man, because that was brutal. That's some tough business practices.
And I do like the fact, and they talked about the message of the movie, and I do like the fact of keeping the internet open and keeping it, open source internet and the work open. I mean, we've talked about that in the past ourselves, with everything that's come up with net neutrality and such. So I think this movie is kind of a timely movie.
Interestingly enough, it does actually fit relatively well with where we are in society today.
Not the clothing.
No. The soundtrack was fantastic, but it is all throwbacks.
It is a good
it was an amazing soundtrack. I really enjoyed this soundtrack again. Another, those early 2000s, late 90s soundtracks, bro. We've covered that before. I'm a sucker for them. I hear, the way they used, oh my gosh, Black Milk. Why am I forgetting the freaking name? I went to the
you're bigger at it than I am. I have it up. So
Nah.
What is it called?
Mezzanine was the album. Black Milk, I believe, was the song.
Black Milk. I don't see it on here.
Let me just look it up real quick.
Because they have a bunch. Like they really did go hardcore into that late 90s, early 2000s music. And then they had David Bowie.
Well, yeah, I mean, anytime you have Bowie wins. They had some pretty neat tech stuff, some stuff that like nowadays you'd recognize and go, yeah, but we already have that. Like, it was wild how they did that. Going back to 2001 and just seeing the technology itself, the old jazz drives and the old everything was on disc, and it was just fun.
My God,
to kind of be transported back to that. Those were like the first, flat screen monitors that they had in there. Were all those flat screens? So they were old like CRT flat screens. It was awesome.
Well, one thing I do want to say, and like I said, I don't want to give anything away or spoil it for anybody who wants to maybe check this movie out and see what they think of it. Um, they called they called a cliche. They called like the suspense in a cliche. I disagree. I thought the suspense. I thought every turn that they had, like the turn they had with Alice, the turn they had with the other. I can't think of her character's name at the moment.
Yeah,
but
we don't want to say it.
No, I don't want to say like the turn that
Rebecca,
they had in character wise.
Yes.
And like how they were kind of handling everybody as it was going along, the love triangle, the whole nine. Also the turn with like the business and the people and the different people in the business and stuff.
And the different turns in the business, like the people you thought they were gunning for them, all of a sudden turn around and maybe help them out. It was pretty rad how they did that. It was very neat to see who was on what side. They did that. I think as a thriller, this one did great. Not just fine, not average. I think it was a good thriller. I'm with you. I enjoyed the thriller aspect. Massive Attack, Angel was the song I was thinking of.
Oh, yeah. Massive Attack is amazing to me because it's one that showed up in a lot of movies back then and they didn't really gain the notoriety until House.
Like, it's crazy to me that they were around that long. And I mean, that's a 25-year-old album.
Teardrop came out.
Long time ago.
When House came out, though, it wasn't 25. It was like a 10-year.
I mean, fair. It was like 15 at that point when House
for
came
them,
out. And then Luther took, another song from them too, and that's just awesome. Carnival, I believe, was the song.
But it worked well. I thought it fit well. I thought I liked the 2001 vibe. Had a good look for everybody. My wife was watching it while we were watching it. While I was watching it, and she came in and she saw Tyler Labine's character, and she goes, "That was every guy who wanted to be a chauvinist and be a douchebag. They got the frosted tips, they did all that, and like I looked down because I was like, I did frosted tips for my prom.
I mean, I did frosted tips too. I don't want to talk about it. So that's a picture that I hope is dead. I'm pretty sure I burned all the evidence. I have one left, and it's only to prove to my daughter that I did it. That's it. When she's like 18 and remembers it, it's gone. It's out of here.
But I'm completely agree with you about the suspense side of it. I think this is a really good suspense movie, and I don't know why they call it bad acting. I think it was really well done acting.
I don't think anyone did a terrible job acting. I think Tyler Labine, or as I like to call him, Young Guy Fieri, was fantastic in this, and he was probably the weakest link for me out of the entire thing.
I can't remember. Is he Tucker or Dale?
He's Tucker.
Yeah. So every time I see him, I think
he's Dale. I'm sorry, he's
Dale. Every time I see him, I think of Reaper. Say it. And that show that came on.
The show was amazing, man. That was the one I wanted to keep alive, and Supernatural somehow just kept on going.
And it still is strong. I love it. They're coming back with a spinoff. I love it.
So, my brother, I gotta ask, what do you think? Where in your mind would you categorically put this? Did AntiTrust suck to you?
Well, you know what? Before we get to our score, I do want to talk about some audience scores.
Okay, yes. Let's cover the audience scores. The other audiences.
We talked about Rotten Tomatoes having a 24% on the tomato meter for them. But the audience score is 50%. And I thought that was interesting because a lot of people will say 50% is not good. But out of 25,000 ratings by the audience, 50% is not bad for a movie that they say is terrible.
It's not bad for an average movie. In fact, 50% is almost exactly where it lives.
And actually, if you go over to IMDb, which their ratings for it, I tend to follow more. I trust more than Rotten Tomatoes or Metacritic. 6.1 out of 10. So I think a lot of people put it as middle of the road.
I agree. And I think a lot of people also, they took time to come back to this one. Because I have to say, from what I remember versus revisiting, it's a pretty large disparity.
Yeah. And I will say that for me, watching it and kind of doing rewatching it and kind of understanding it better and having more of a tech background, because back then we just didn't. That wasn't our thing. Like we liked it and we were getting into it, but it was so new. Kind of understanding that world, I think, went over my head. But now that I'm 40, I watch it. I'm like, this is a good suspense thriller. It's well acted, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it fits the time perfectly.
Absolutely,
and still stands up. The theme still stands up today.
100%.
So really thinking about this and thinking about, is this a good movie or why, or does it suck? It definitely doesn't suck. I definitely think people should check this movie out. I mean, if you're watching the Screams and the I Know What You Did Last Summer, the Teach 'Em Miss Tingles and things
The
like that.
Faculty. I mean, this fits right in. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, this fits into into those thrillers of back in the day that worked. And I think it actually is better than a lot of them.
Yeah.
So I would definitely, my rating for we're going to do grades on this, everybody. So we're going to do A, B, C, D, or F. I would give this a B.
Okay. That's strong. I mean, I hear you on your B. I like your B.
Not
Your
a B plus.
good.
We can add pluses.
Okay. All right. Cool.
But I give it a B. I don't want to give it, if not a B, a C plus. But like, I'm going to stick with B.
I'm going 100% C plus. This is right where it sits for me because everything was handled well, but it still feels clumsy. There's something in this hour and 48-minute movie that just feels a little bit. There were certain parts that I was like, they kind of took a leap there, or they got there real quick. Like, I see where you're going, and you kind of hurried him up because we need him to be in that mental place. But it was cool. All in all, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, you know what? I like that rating, and I think both of us kind of have that middle of the road rating that works. Definitely not an F, which I think widely critics wanted it to be or deemed it that.
A lot of people felt this was a failure, and I just don't see it that way at all. So at the end of the day, I believe the Scene Snobs are saying it didn't suck.
It did not suck. I agree. So we want to thank you guys for listening. We're going to come back and do this more often. We're going to find movies that, like we said, that are probably deemed terrible. I did want to say, I didn't point this out in the beginning, but the thing that I really think hurt this was it had a budget of 30 million and the box office only came in at 18.2.
Yeah, it didn't. I can see it not making money. That's the thing. This isn't much of a theater movie. And I feel like at that time in 2001, there were a lot of thrillers. Thrillers were the thing. So this was supposed to be kind of the bridge of the young, sexy thriller with the crazy tech billionaire. And people were kind of tired of the Bill Gates. They didn't want that stuff. So I can only presume where people landed on this. But yeah, all in all, I think we were pretty satisfied.
Yeah, so go check it out. So it does not suck, as Casey said. But guys, we really appreciate you jumping in and being a part of the show and helping us out. You can go check out shows like this or more. But first off, before we take off, we want to say thank you to our patrons, Tim, Paul, Stacy, Matt, Aaron, Chris S, and Chris H.
Dan, John B, Ron, Jason, AJ, Radar, John W.
And guys, if you're interested in joining up on Patreon, we have 3 tiers available. Go to patreon.com/thescenesnobs. And also make sure that you head on over to the link. All links are below or on our link tree or on thescenesnobs.com. But make sure you head over to our link and join our Discord. Love to have you be a part of it. It's a lot of fun, a lot of great conversations, a lot of great people. Make sure you hit like on this video and make sure you hit subscribe because not only do we this isn't on there, but we also have the Scene Snobs podcast, which is live every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. We're available on all podcast platforms afterwards. Geek Fest Live, which is live every Sunday night. Real Combat, Scene Snobs Review, Plot Roast, and we have a couple of more shows coming that are going to be really great. So we hope you check them out.
Pumping them out. Just come and join us. And then make sure that if you enjoy us so much, you want to adorn your body with us, you pop on over to the merch store. That's right. The Scene Snobs have merch. Go to thescenesnobs.com and you can find the link right there and you can adorn yourself in the finest attire of your favorite podcast.
Make sure you guys are following us as well. We are at the Scene Snobs pretty much everywhere except for TikTok because they won't let me change it. But follow us because we always have daily content coming out, a lot of fun stuff, videos or audio, the whole 9 yards. Casey, I'm going to get your stuff up there so everybody can follow you as well. But the Scene Snobs is a representative of us, and we have a good time with it. And we thank you guys for following us if you do already. But if not, give us a try. Let us know what you think.
We appreciate y'all. Thanks a lot for joining us on this fine evening or day or morning, whenever you happen to land on us. And we hope you all have a great time and make sure to check us out in different areas. And remember, in the meantime, be kind to each other.
Absolutely. And next time, join us as we ask another question. Does this suck?